What would make a man abandon a respectable life at sea to become the terror of the oceans? This question has haunted historians for centuries, especially when we speak of Bartholomew Roberts, known as Black Bart, the most successful pirate ever to sail the seas. But do you truly know the real story behind the man who captured over 400 ships in just 4 years of piracy? Imagine for a moment, you're standing on the deck of a merchant ship in 1719, sailing through the crystal-clear waters of the Caribbean. The sun blazes above. The sea breeze carries the scent of salt and adventure, when suddenly, a black flag appears on the horizon. Not just any black flag, it's the one with a skeleton holding an hourglass in one hand and a bleeding heart in the other. Your blood runs cold. You've just spotted the feared vessel of Bartholomew Roberts. But how did a man born in a small fishing village in Wales end up at this point? The answer is more surprising than you might think. In 1682, in Casnewid, a village so small it barely appears on old maps, John Roberts was born. Yes, Bartholomew was just one of his many names. Growing up among fishing nets and sailors' tales, young John showed sharp intelligence and an insatiable thirst for adventure that would soon take him far beyond the familiar waters of his homeland. Unlike the stereotypical pirates who populate our imaginations, Roberts was an educated man, fluent in reading and writing, rare traits in his time. He spoke multiple languages and had navigation skills that impressed even the most seasoned sailors. But if he possessed all these admirable qualities, what transformed him into the most feared privateer of the seas? The answer lies in a chance encounter that would not only change his life but alter the course of piracy forever. In 1719, Roberts was serving as third mate on the merchant ship Princess, which transported enslaved people between Africa and the Americas. During a stop off the coast of Guinea, something extraordinary happened, but was it really by chance? The Princess was captured by Welsh pirate Howell Davis, a man whose cruelty was known in every Atlantic port. But here's the first mystery. Instead of killing Roberts or selling him into slavery, Davis saw something special in the 37-year-old man. What quality did Roberts possess that caught the eye of an experienced pirate? The answer reveals Roberts's true nature. When Davis offered him the choice between a miserable life and a short, merry one, Roberts didn't hesitate. But his decision wasn't driven solely by money or thrill. Something deeper was motivating him. Davis had recognized in Roberts a rare combination: the strategic mind of a natural-born commander and the iron courage of someone unafraid of death. 6 weeks. That's all it took for Roberts to go from prisoner to respected member of Davis's crew. But fate had other plans. In an ambush in the Cape Verde Islands, Howell Davis was killed by Portuguese soldiers, leaving the crew leaderless. And then, something unprecedented happened in the history of piracy. Why did the most seasoned and bloodthirsty pirates choose a 6-week novice as their new captain? The answer lies in the exceptional qualities Roberts had demonstrated from day one. His navigation skills were unmatched, his bravery in battle legendary, and, most importantly, he had something few pirates did: a strict moral code. Roberts didn't drink alcohol during operations, banned gambling on Sundays, and treated captured women with respect, traits that sharply contrasted with the savage image of pirates in that era. But this apparent civility masked a brilliant strategic mind and an ambition that would soon devastate maritime trade. After taking command and adopting the name Bartholomew Roberts in honor of his predecessor, he immediately proved what he was capable of. His first act as captain was vengeance. He returned to the Cape Verde Islands and ruthlessly bombarded Portuguese ports, killing every soldier responsible for Davis's death. But that was only the beginning. What set Roberts apart from other pirates wasn't just his efficiency, it was his methodology. While other privateers attacked at random and in chaos, Roberts developed an operational system that turned piracy into a science. He studied trade routes, analyzed weather patterns, and, most crucially, understood the psychology of his victims. But how exactly did he manage to capture 400 ships in less than 4 years? The answer lies in his revolutionary strategy, which combined speed, psychological intimidation, and an intelligence network that spanned the Atlantic. Roberts discovered that fear was his most powerful weapon. His black flag with the skeleton and bleeding heart wasn't just for show, it was a calculated psychological message. Captains of merchant ships surrendered without a fight at the mere sight of it, knowing that resistance meant certain death. But surrender meant life. Roberts rarely harmed crews who gave up peacefully. His operational speed was legendary. While other pirates spent days looting a single ship, Roberts perfected a fast-boarding technique that allowed him to capture, plunder, and release vessels within hours. This meant he could attack multiple targets in a single day, creating a wave of terror that spread faster than the news of his raids. But perhaps the most impressive aspect was his intelligence network. Roberts cultivated contacts in nearly every major Atlantic port, from shady merchants to corrupt naval officers. These sources provided detailed information on valuable cargo, sailing routes, and even military plans to capture him. And here arises a curious question. How did a pirate manage to build an intelligence network so efficient it rivaled those of entire governments? The answer reveals the true genius of Roberts. He understood something few pirates did. The economy of fear is more profitable than the economy of violence. Instead of torturing his victims for information, Roberts treated them like reluctant business partners. He paid generously for valuable intel, protected merchants who cooperated, and, most importantly, he kept his word. This reputation as a reliable pirate may seem contradictory, but it was precisely what allowed Roberts to operate on an unprecedented scale. Merchants knew that if they cooperated, their lives and part of their cargo would be spared. If they resisted, well, the oceans are full of ships that tried to defy Black Bart. During his years of activity, Roberts sailed virtually the entire Atlantic. From the Caribbean to the African coast, from the icy waters of Newfoundland to the tropical seas of Brazil, there was no trade route beyond his reach. But how could he be in so many places at once? The answer lies in his fleet. Roberts didn't operate with a single ship, but commanded a true armada of pirate vessels. At his peak, he controlled more than a dozen ships, each specialized in different types of operations. He had fast ships for reconnaissance, heavily armed vessels for frontal assaults, and even hospital ships to care for the wounded. This impressive military organization was governed by a code of conduct personally crafted by Roberts, the famous Roberts Code. But do you really know the rules that governed life aboard his ships? Some of them may surprise you. The code established equal voting rights for all crew members on important matters, fair division of captured treasures, compensation for those injured in combat, and even specific times for music and entertainment. Roberts believed that happy pirates were loyal pirates, and his incredibly low desertion rate proved his philosophy worked. But there were also severe punishments. Desertion was punished by death. Cowardice in battle led to marooning on a deserted island, and stealing from fellow crewmates meant losing your ears and nose. Roberts' code was a fascinating blend of advanced democracy and brutal justice, a reflection of his complex personality. During his golden years, between 1720 and 1722, Roberts amassed an estimated fortune that would make even the wealthiest merchants of the time envious. But here lies another mystery. Where did he hide all that wealth? Unlike other famous pirates, no treasure of Roberts has ever been found. Some theories suggest he kept secret accounts in European banks or buried fortunes on remote islands, but the truth remains a mystery. What we do know is that Roberts lived with astonishing extravagance for the standards of his time. His clothes were made of the finest fabrics, his weapons were ornate works of art, and his ships were decorated with luxury rivaling royal vessels. He understood that appearance was a fundamental part of psychological warfare. A well-dressed and confident pirate inspired more fear and respect than a ragged corsair. But all that wealth and power came at a price. Roberts knew that every day he remained active increased the chances of meeting his end. Navies from several nations had placed monumental bounties on his head, and professional pirate hunters roamed the seas in search of him. The international pressure to capture him grew steadily. Atlantic trade had practically ground to a halt on certain routes due to his actions, causing economic losses reaching millions of pounds sterling. an astronomical fortune for the time. Governments that normally despised each other began cooperating with a single goal: eliminate Bartholomew Roberts. And it was this growing pressure that eventually led to the final confrontation that would bring an end to the golden age of Atlantic: piracy. But how exactly did the career of the most successful pirate in history come to an end? In February 1722, Roberts was anchored off the coast of present-day Ghana, repairing his ships after a string of successful attacks. He had captured 11 ships in just 3 days, a record even by his high standards. The crew was celebrating, the coffers were full, and everything pointed to another successful year ahead. But Captain Challoner Ogle of the British Royal Navy had finally managed to track Roberts to those waters. Ogle was no ordinary officer. He was a seasoned veteran, an expert in naval warfare, and more importantly, he had meticulously studied Roberts' tactics for months in preparation. On the morning of February 10, 1722, Roberts' lookouts spotted 2 British warships approaching. For the first time in his career, Roberts was at a clear disadvantage in numbers and firepower. His ships were scattered, part of his crew was ashore, and he had no time to execute his usual tactics of escape and regrouping. But Roberts was not one to retreat. Even knowing the odds were against him, he ordered his ships to prepare for battle. He donned his finest clothes, a bright red coat adorned with gold, a plumed hat, and his ceremonial weapons. If he was going to die, he would die like a gentleman. The battle that followed was brutal and decisive. The superior British cannons quickly devastated the pirate ships. Roberts, standing on the command deck as he always did, was struck by a cannonball and killed instantly. His death marked the immediate end of pirate resistance. Without their charismatic and strategic leader, the crew surrendered within minutes. But here's a question that still haunts historians. Did Roberts really die by chance, or was there more behind that final battle? Evidence suggests that someone close to him may have provided information on his location to the British. The precision with which Ogle found Roberts, in an era of extremely limited oceanic communication, suggests the possibility of internal betrayal. Regardless of the circumstances, Roberts' death in 1722 symbolically marked the end of the golden age of piracy. No pirate after him ever operated on the same scale or with the efficiency that characterized his meteoric career. In just 4 years, he had completely redefined what it meant to be a privateer in the Atlantic seas. His numerical achievements are impressive. Over 400 ships captured, his own fleet of dozens of vessels, thousands of crew members under his command, and a fortune that remains a mystery to this day. But perhaps his most enduring legacy is the proof that even in the seemingly chaotic world of piracy, organization, strategy, and leadership can achieve extraordinary results. Roberts showed that the difference between an ordinary pirate and a legendary one did not lie in cruelty or luck, but in the ability to think like a military strategist, operate like a businessman, and lead like a statesman. He transformed piracy from a disorganized activity into a sophisticated military commercial operation that seriously threatened the international trade of his time. Today, more than 300 years after his death, Bartholomew Roberts is still studied, not just as a pirate, but as a fascinating example of exceptional leadership under extreme circumstances. His story reminds us that genius can emerge in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the most complex figures in history are those who defy our simple categories of hero and villain. The man who began as John Roberts, a simple Welsh sailor, ended as Black Bart, a legend who continues to sail through the oceans of human imagination. And perhaps that is the greatest achievement of all, the immortality that comes not from accumulated wealth or captured ships, but from the stories we keep telling, the questions we still ask, and the mystery that remains alive in every wave that breaks on the shores he once sailed. After all, isn't that what we all secretly wish for? Not a long and forgettable life, but an intense one that echoes through the centuries, reminding future generations that there was once a man who dared to challenge the entire world and almost won.